Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brent Malakote, Associate Superintendent at the Sacramento County Office of Ed. We're excited about today's community. We're excited about every community of practice, but we're going to take some time to do a little bit of a year in review. And I know I was in kind of a planning meeting earlier this week that when we really start to talk about all that's happened in the last year, it's a lot. And packing it into a 2-hour meeting is not possible, but we're going to do our best. And we really do. We want to thank you for kind of coming along for the ride on all of this. I want to be explicit about something. We just got off of a call, and when I say just, I mean for me 5 minutes ago, got off of a call with the Santa Cruz County Office of Education, where we were talking about ECM, and it was a reminder to me because Peter and Leah last month, from Humboldt County Office of Education, did that great presentation with, was spotlighted around the work that they're doing in ECM, and that spurred a conversation for Sacramento County Office of Ed that we've checked in with a few other county offices of ed now after learning about what Humboldt was doing. And we're excited about next steps on this. So it's just kind of that spirit of the community of practice that we're really excited to not just be helping to facilitate, but learning alongside all of you. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being kind of on this journey with us. And again, today is all about that year in review and kind of reflecting on where we've been and as we're thinking about where we want to go. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So here's our mission and vision. And then I'm going to take a minute to focus on our priorities down here at the bottom today. We're number one, we're thinking about sustainability. I just mentioned kind of ECM, right? That we're looking about not just at the fee schedule. Of course, that is our priority, that is our focus, but there's lots of other ways to be thinking about how we're sustaining mental health, behavioral health, and wellness in schools. Number two here, billing and data systems and policies. This is new for a lot of us. EHRs are, we're all kind of considering some of these things that, and it just feels good to be able to lean in with all of you as we're each making these individual decisions, but knowing that we've got a collective that we can really kind of think about how we're doing it. And then the partnerships. We've got partnerships here at this county office level. We've got partnerships with the Department of Healthcare Services. You all have incredibly impactful partnerships with your districts and community-based organizations, and it's those partnerships that really help keep things moving along. So anyway, here's our mission vision, and I just thought I'd take a minute just to kind of focus on the priorities that we try to lift up at each one of these community of practice meetings. And I think we can go to the next one. Here's our objectives and our agenda for today, both pretty simple. Our objectives is we want to reflect on the work to date. Again, it's kind of the theme is a year in review. We want to empower community voices, and when we say community voices, we mean your voices. We want to engage in activities to foster collaboration and learning. It's, maybe kind of think of it as one of the social emotional learning three signature practices. We have the welcoming activity and the optimistic closure on each end of the three signature practices, but it's about those engaging activities that really make a meeting that happen, from kind of bell to bell, if you want to think of it that way. And then we want to provide insight on technical assistance and ways to support administration of the capacity grants. Agenda today is pretty simple. We're going to welcome you. We'll have a welcoming ritual, and then we're launching right into peer learning and discussion. Love these simple agendas. We've got a lot packed in, but it's kind of around these three areas.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the last but not least community of practice for this school year. I'm so happy to be with all of you today and facilitating our welcome ritual. So, a little bit about welcome rituals. Welcome ritual activities establish safety and predictability. It supports contribution by all voices, sets norms for respectful listening, and allows participants to connect with one another and create a sense of belonging. Our focus for today is a year in review, and our activities is titled The Academic Year in Review of You. And we ask that you think about the 2024-2025 academic year and share a personal or professional response to at least one of the following prompts. One thing I learned to do this academic year, one good memory that comes to mind about this academic year, or something challenging that you were able to accomplish this year, and one positive change or habit you implemented. So, in thinking about that prompt, I will model this for everyone. In the academic review of Caressa, I would have to say that one good, actually, let me change that. One really, really fun memory that comes to mind was just from a couple of weeks ago. We had so much fun recording some of our COE partners. And I will always remember how we all were very nervous in the beginning, but at the end, it was a lot of sharing done, a lot of great camaraderie during that hour of recording. And you'll get to see the product of that a little bit later in our COP. So now you know the ritual. We're going to break into small groups, and in your rooms, you will have 8 minutes to share. When we come back as a group, we will ask for volunteers to verbally share the responses to one of the prompts. And welcome back, everyone. I knew that in our room, room 7, I believe, we had a really fun time sharing with everyone in our small group. So we're going to we're hoping that some of you would volunteer and share out. So for this segment, we're going to ask that you use the raised hand feature, and we would love for others to use emojis, all those fun emojis in the chat, um, so that we can gauge your reactions to what everyone is sharing out. So I am going to fix my view so I can see anyone who would like to go first. And we're going to take about 7 minutes for this share out. So we'd love to hear from some of you. Brent,
I'll break
thank
the
you.
ice. I'm happy to break the ice. I was with Jennifer from El Dorado. I hope, Jennifer, it's okay to share, but I'm excited because she's excited. But Black Oak Mine, one of the small school districts in El Dorado County, just submitted their first claims for fee schedule billing. I think yesterday, she said. So a lot of excitement, and not a small number of claims either. It sounds like there's some significant dollars that could be headed back their way. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, Jennifer. It didn't feel like it was private, but
No,
it was really, really cool.
not a secret. Thanks, Brent, for sharing.
Wow. Congratulations, Jennifer. And we would love to hear more about that in the coming months. That's for sure. Thank you, Brent. Anyone else would like to volunteer? I've been known to be great at waiting.
Chris, I'll share. I might share something about you. That's okay.
Go ahead, Teresa.
So Carissa shared with us that she's been working for 5 years there. And she just found out that she has her own YouTube channel. So, you might be seeing some influencer videos from Carissa coming up soon.
All connected to SSCOE, that's for sure. Thank you, Teresa. Okay, I think we have time for about one more.
I can share my group. So we have a common theme talk about positive change. Um, so take a wellness break, short walk early in the morning or during work hour to get fresh air, reset, really helpful. And also remember to take lunch timely and then set boundary of no schedule on your lunch break time. Yeah, that's not our group.
Oh my God, Vera, I think that is a recurring theme in some of these rooms. In our own room, there was some talk about learning to take care of yourself. I know it's June, but it's never too late to start. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so we are now in the peer learning portion of our COP. And before we get to our presentation, I want to provide some framing and describe the flow for the rest of our meeting. Next slide, please. As our focus for today is the year in review, throughout this peer learning session, we will reflect on the work of the CYBHI Capacity Grants over the past academic year. The goals of the Capacity Grant, which are increasing operational readiness for reimbursable school-based behavioral health services, funding, expanding access to behavioral health services, and developing and enhancing collaborative infrastructure, are all part of the mission to transform how we support young people across the state. So for our presentation today, Liz, David, and I will share about the investments being made across the state to strengthen the behavioral health services by sharing the work of you all, the COEs. The presentation also includes insight from Contra Costa COE, Los Angeles COE, Fresno COE, Ventura COE, Del Norte COE, and El Dorado COE, who will share details about their approach to the work. And the COEs featured in the presentation will also be at our office hour this Friday and will be able to answer any of your questions. The focus of today's meeting is informed by feedback we have received from COEs about wanting to learn more about how counties are using their capacity grant funds. So I'd like to quickly go over the flow of today's peer learning session. First, we will have our presentation, which blends data from implementation plans and progress reports with COE storytelling through short videos. After the presentation, we will take a quick break. And when we return from break, we will have our peer learning discussion and share out, where you will have an opportunity to hear from other COEs about their work with the capacity grants. After the peer learning discussion, there will be time to complete the feedback form. We really would love for you to complete that feedback form. And finally, we will have the community of, we will end the community of practice by having an optimistic closure. Next slide, please. With that, I'm going to kick off our presentation with a review of the capacity grant deliverables and program timeline. Next slide, please. It's just amazing to see how far we've come. We started the capacity grants in March of last year, and we have navigated through some uncertainties and we've learned a lot together. We are very excited to see where we will be as a community in the next couple of years as we continue to uplift and address the mental health needs of students and families across the state. Next slide, please. This is an exciting slide for me. You've done all of the heavy lifting of allocating your funds in the different areas of operational readiness. Here's a visual of where and how capacity grant funds have been allocated. Direct LEA allocations account for the largest piece of this pie, as you can see. Please note that this chart does not reflect how LEAs are currently spending their funds. Next slide, please. And now we get to my favorite part of our presentation. We've spent some time in the last couple of weeks meeting and recording with some of our COE partners for this presentation. We asked them to share their why and what connects them to the mission of providing mental and behavioral health supports to students and families across California. But before we launch the video, we want you to know that this was our first time recording interviews on Zoom. Our comms team done their best to edit, but you still might notice a bit of a lag and some buffering. So please bear with us. Now we're going to hear from Lynn, Thelma, and Matt.
So in my career, I've always worked with students who had alternative education pathways, who've had challenges, who've had just was not necessarily in the mainstream of education. And I think that the more support that all students can get, students who are on the margins, students who need extra support, where we can give them more support in the most convenient way possible, is doing them a benefit. So that is my why, is to try to support as many students as possible being successful.
It truly brings me joy to see students receive support that they deserve. And thanks to the Capacity Grant, every student continues to have clear access to the mental health resources that they need. They know exactly where, when, and from whom they can get the help that they need. And this means that each student has access to at least one dedicated adult who is there to support them, and this is making a meaningful difference in their educational journey.
The why for us is really, well, for me in particular, was that I was I have a long career in education. I've been a, site leader, principal, superintendent, and have been through, COVID, massive fires, and all sorts of things that have really been challenging for staff and students alike. I think it's really important. I come from a family of therapists that have worked with kids, and so it's in my why. And then I know for our team, it's in their why as well. It's part of their just who they are. They're clinicians. They're school people that really care about this, and they recognize the need right now. And it's an important time to make this happen and to make this work. And we kind of consider that there's really not an option to not make this work, right? We have to make this work right now. And we're given this opportunity, so let's do the best we can to make it work.
Thank you so much, Lynn, Thelma, and Matt, for sharing your why with all of us today. Next slide, please. Okay, there you go. So let's take a statewide view of what COEs are prioritizing under collective impact. As of Progress Report 1, we know that 33 COEs are working on developing plans, policies, and procedures that guide collaboration, while 37 COEs are providing technical assistance to LEAs on best practices related to providing behavioral health support to students and their families. And finally, quite a few of you are establishing partnerships with managed care plans, your county behavioral health departments, and other community-based organizations for the delivery of services. Collectively, we are spending 9% of the total capacity grant funds on collective impact. Next slide, please. Now let's take a peek at what Contra Costa COE is doing and their efforts around supporting LEAs in their decision-making as it relates to data collection and billing systems. They've built a helpful website tool that continues to build capacity in their county, and they've also hosted vendor fair, which we're going to hear in a little bit from Lynn. So next slide, please. And now, Lynn, the spotlight is back on you as you talk about your efforts around collective impact.
Majority of the districts want and need. And one thing they really struggled with was the whole idea of going forward with an electronic record system when they were still in the great unknown. We did not know what this is going to look like. So one, we decided to fund that for them because as they are building up their capacity, we didn't want them to have to use the very scarce resources on this system. So we just provided a vendor fair, and we invited all the vendors that we knew about. We did a little researching, and we invited them, and Lindy facilitated, and we got them to share all their information, and districts came and asked questions.
Thank you again, Lynn, for sharing your insights on your vendor fair. And now I would like to turn it over to Liz.
All right, thanks, Carissa. So what we're going to talk about next is the priority funding area around service delivery. So service delivery is all about the people. So those adults that are on campus providing on the ground and online services for young people, behavioral health services right where they are. And so as you can see, the priority funding activities that have been prioritized for county offices are training for those staff to deliver evidence-based interventions, hiring and contracting with eligible providers, and contracting with community-based organizations. Also, those people need a place to go in order to provide services. And so you'll see that 21 county offices of ed are supporting the building, modifying, furnishing, and preparation of those physical spaces so that those folks on campus have a place to provide behavioral health services to students. 4 county offices are also hiring certified wellness coaches. And this is all information as of Progress Report 1. So as we continue through the grant program, I'm sure there'll be changes as folks learn and grow from one another, but this is where we are right now. As we look at that pizza pie, you can see that 10% of the overall dollars county offices of ed are prioritizing for the service delivery area, with about $35.6 million overall for county offices of education. Next slide. We have the absolute privilege of hearing from one of your peer counties, Del Norte County Office of Ed, who is spending 8% of their dollars in the service delivery area. They are investing in establishing wellness spaces in contracts with community-based organizations such as the United Indian Health Service to bring culturally relevant services to students and families. Next slide. We'll also get to see there and hear about their wellness van. So I don't know if you take one look at this wellness van and you're like, wow, I want to go get services in that wellness van. That looks so much fun and so welcoming. So we'll hear about how their wellness van was started by CYBHI funding and is continued through capacity grants funding. The next slide, we will hear directly from Del Norte.
This is where the blending and braiding of different grants come into play. So we have 3 physical wellness centers and a mobile wellness center. And these centers were established by different grants. And the capacity grant is being used for modification, furnishing, and upkeep of these spaces. So, and for UIHS, we've been meeting with them every month, and we're very close to getting an MOU on ground, but we're still working on the kinks of the MOU. And the plan is for the UIHS providers to come in and bring culturally sensitive services to the students, because the particular school that we're looking at has a high population of Native Americans in their school.
Thanks so much, Selma, for sharing all the great work that's happening at Del Norte County Office of Ed around service delivery. And so we thought it could be helpful to also hear from another peer county around service delivery. They're taking a little bit of a different approach, which is great. They are spending about 15% of their dollars on service delivery, and this is Fresno County Office of Education. They have created a consortium with their LEAs and hired staff, specifically a program supervisor, clinical supervisor, and 10 direct clinical and clerical staff to support making school-based behavioral health services accessible in their county. Next slide. We all know how important it is the people that are doing this work. So here is a picture of some of those fabulous humans on the All for Youth team that are developing that consortium. And in the video that comes next, we will hear from them directly. Let's toggle to the video.
Yes, we have 31 LEAs and many charters in our county. And so what we did is we broke it down into small, medium, and large districts, and then charter schools. And so our smalls are the ones that are one schoolhouse LEAs, and then we have medium size, and then we have our larger ones. And for Fresno Unified and Clovis, they are so large, we didn't feel like we had the capacity to do their billing for them. And so they are getting all of their capacity grant dollars and are going to be doing it themselves. But for the other 29, they are divided into that small, medium, and large, each getting the same amount of money. And we are going to be billing for their eligible practitioners. And we're also going to be providing mild mental health services in all of those schools, I think, except for one. So we just wanted to make sure that we got going with the consortium, being able to bill ourselves with the mild mental health services prior to billing for our districts.
Thank you, Fresno, Trina, and All for Youth team for your work on service delivery, and Velma. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is around Medi-Cal enrollment. So as you can see here, Medi-Cal enrollment is a small but mighty piece of the overall funding that COEs have dedicated around the capacity grant. So we're coming in at about 2% here. 30 county offices of ed are supporting LEAs with provider enrollment, and 2 county offices of ed are supporting LEAs with family enrollment in Medi-Cal. This is coming in on just under $6.3 million that COEs are dedicating. And we'll talk a little bit about a specific case study. So let's head to the next slide. So Los Angeles County Office of Ed is doing some interesting work around Medi-Cal enrollment. You can see that their funding aligns with what's being spent statewide. So 2% of their funding is going to Medi-Cal enrollment. And they have developed some useful how-to guides around NPI and PAVE. So those are some important resources that have been helpful for their LEAs and providers to be able to move towards the accessing of behavioral health services in their schools. So let's head on over to the video and hear directly from Los Angeles.
So when it comes to the NPI guide, during our community of practice meetings, we realized that there was actually a lot of confusion happening. A lot of our staff are just school district staff. They don't have a lot of experience when it comes to being service providers, like through DMH and everything. So just hearing the words NPI and PAVE kind of made everyone nervous because they're big changes, and everyone was asking for like clarification and help. So we thought that by creating a guide, explaining everything, the step-by-step, really just making it as simple as possible was going to take a little bit of the nerves away. And also all of our staff now have NPI numbers, so we're ready to go for the next phases, trying to make sure that everything is streamlined and simple.
As far as connecting our school districts with health enrollment partners, LACO does have memorandums of understanding with several organizations that are able to go out to our schools and school districts to enroll students and families into Medi-Cal.
All right. Thank you, Los Angeles team, Kim and Leslie. Super helpful to hear about the work being done in Medi-Cal enrollment. And I will pass it over to David.
Thank you so much, Liz. I'm so pleased and thankful to be here today. And I'm lifting up the focus on data collection and documentation. So from a statewide view, there's been an allocation of over $29 million to support this work, and approximately 9% of the allocation of funds. Within this work, it's so important as we know that this is transformational work that has never been done before, and we're developing new systems in public education to meet this need. Within this, our COEs are focused on two priority funding areas: purchasing software licenses to enable data collection and exchange of electronic medical records, as well as electronic health records. It's additionally gone into supporting training providers and administrative employees on how to use the data to ensure consistency and to meet that need. 18 COEs are developing data collection policies and procedures to support awareness and understanding on HIPAA and FERPA compliance. All right, let's see our next slide. We're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into Ventura County Office of Ed. Ventura County Office of Ed has invested in contracting with a vendor for the collection and storage and transmission of data to make school-based behavioral health services accessible. So it's my pleasure to let's shift and listen to what's happening in Ventura. So welcome, Chris.
And finally, Ventura County established another priority early in our process of beginning CYBHI work. We began with an intent to establish a consortium of district partners for whom VCOE would take the role of data collection, storage, and transmission. We began with the concept that our role at the COE was crucial in offloading the heavy lifting of CYBHI efforts, and in turn VCOE placed a priority in finding an expert partner who could ensure data security for our consortium and well interface with our district partners to build a user-friendly and compliant system for.
Thank you, Chris. And sorry for that last little lost you at the end of the video recording, but we really appreciate sharing that partnership. I'm sure we'll hear more from you on Friday when you join us. All right, now we're going to turn to statewide focused on billing infrastructure. Again, billing infrastructure is so essential in this work as it's about the building sustainability to ensure that the funds come back to the LEAs to support the ongoing delivery of services. The top 3 priority funding areas that were selected by COEs under the billing infrastructure was training providers and administrative employees on how to use billing software. 31 COEs were recruiting, hiring, onboarding, and supporting salaries and billing to ensure the billing infrastructure is established, purchasing needed software, again, new services, new delivery of services needed new software. And additionally, 18 COEs are contracting with full service third-party billing vendors. Quite a lot of work. $23 million, over $23 million, and 7% of the funding allocation has been allocated to support billing infrastructure statewide. Next slide. Deep dive into El Dorado County Office of Education. They've developed a multi-county consortium. They've also hired a billing technician to support with the developing of this billing team. El Dorado County Office of Ed has also partnered with a vendor for electronic health records. And additionally, they've provided a lot of support for some of our small COEs. So we really appreciate the work they're doing here. And so now let's go ahead and hand it over to Matt Smith up in El Dorado County. And our next slide.
The capacity grant came at a perfect time because we were already doing that work and we'd already recognized a lot of these things that we wanted to do and needed to do. And we recognized that this capacity grant could be the funding mechanism to kind of put the pieces in place and then, make it happen so that the districts didn't really have, it's not a lose situation, right? They don't have to invest in it. They can just allow this to happen so that they can be ready for it and be part of that team. The EHR piece, we quickly realized that we were going to need to have an EHR, electronic health record, that could actually work for schools. If you worked in the school system, you know that it needs to be very simple. Some of the key pieces that we've learned and we've implemented because of Capacity Grant. We put in a coordinator right away because a billing coordinator, the billing language and working with the managed care partners is like another language. Learning DHCS language. That was really hard for me and for my team. So having somebody who actually spoke the language was really important, and that's proved very valuable because now they can actually get into the dirt with the LEAs and really work through the nitty gritty with Carillon and DHCS and all those pieces to kind of answer the questions and make it work. If it falls on school personnel, it slows down too much. And so having that person in place, that was really important. We'll be adding a technician for the data entry pieces because it's clear, there's going to be a lot, and then there's still a lot of pieces to go for implementation. So we'll be spanning our team. And then we recognize through our partners and through our discussions that a billing consortium really made a lot of sense for El Dorado County. And we've also partnered with Alpine County and Mono County and now possibly Sierra County.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matt. We really appreciate you sharing the information. That was a ton of information. Amazing. Again, really appreciate all our county offices that were able to participate with us and being vulnerable and being gracious enough to share us their expertise. And we really appreciate this, as well as our video recording team doing the best we can. And we hope to continue to improve this delivery over time.
We are heading into the peer learning discussion part of our community of practice. So as Caressa mentioned earlier, county offices of ed have voiced a desire to learn more about the work happening in other counties. We hope that you learned a little bit in our statewide overview from those videos, and then we'll learn a little bit more as we head into breakout rooms together and talk about the learnings and the noticings from this past year. So to briefly review, we could go back to those questions. Yep. So our discussion questions: what did you notice from the presentation? What are you proud of? What technical assistance has been helpful? Are there things that you're looking forward to in this next year for Capacity Grant? And what TA would be most helpful in year 2? Please let us know. Next slide. Okay, each breakout room, each breakout room will have a facilitator. So we'll be supporting you. So if we could head back to the slide with the questions. Thank you so much. Following the breakout rooms, we will be cataloging all the information and posting those notes onto our website. So that way you can get a sense of what folks are saying statewide. When we come back, we will be asking folks to share out. So as you finish your discussions, consider if there's a nugget you want to share out statewide. We are going to open it up just like we did for the warm welcome for anyone who wants to come off mute and share out. I would love to welcome anyone who wants to raise their hand and share something that came up for them in their breakout rooms.
I'll go, Liz. Cressa's threatened me, said I had to, so so I would just just a general theme that we kind of all thought was important was just that just that piece of like go slow to go fast, that we cannot fail in this whole project, that we all have to be successful, and so it's okay to go slow in order to go fast, and that it can be very frustrating and challenging, but it's really exciting to see how each county is kind of figuring out what they need to do in order to get their pieces moving, and then everybody's moving. So just the fact that we're all moving is a really good thing, and then hopefully we'll just keep moving, and when we meet next year at this time, we'll be able to really point at progress.
I love it. Thanks, Matt. What's the best next step that we can take as a community and moving forward? So going slow to go fast. I appreciate that perspective. Anybody else have reflections that they want to share? Feel free to raise your hand to let us know. too am overwhelmed with the number of reflections that I have from my breakout room. So I can understand how it's all just coming into you right now. I see Jeff.
Yeah, I think that one thing that just really struck me as part of the conversation that we were having was the power of political conservatism and how it is being very influential on not only the decisions of families, but also the decisions of school boards and decision makers. Um, yeah, just sort of learning, right, that there's actually an active resistance out there to providing things like social emotional learning or school-based mental health services. And I think it was just a real opportunity for me to expand my mindset in terms of the challenges that many of our smaller or more rural or more conservative communities face.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you sharing that reflection on, in the last year, what are some of the challenges that have come up as it relates to county offices of ed thinking about capacity building for school-based behavioral health services. Any other reflections coming up from folks? Leslie?
I could just share out from room one. I think we were all on the same page in just really appreciating kind of the evolution of our community practice and our office hours that we are really as we close out this first year, kind of um, really focusing on learning from each other as well. I think which was highlighted in the videos. And it was so good to see kind of how each of the COEs are taking what was spotlighted today in the videos, the little pieces. We know there's so much more they're doing, but at least we get to see a little bit more fleshed out and painted. And it's an opportunity for us to really learn from each other. One of the things that I brought up, and I think Chris and Delnor Amber were agreeable to, is if we could have like a part two, like it'd be great, like Brent sharing out about talking to Santa Cruz about ECM. If we could have Humboldt come back in the future and give us an update how things are going, that'd be nice to kind of just see as things evolve, what are the outcomes, and then also more opportunities for us to learn from each other.
Thanks, Leslie. We were reflecting as a team last week on how that shift to peer learning has really come out in all the spaces. So glad that you felt it as well. Yes, Brent.
A reflection that I continue to make is one, just the amount of innovation that's coming out of this group. But specifically the innovation that's coming out of our small county offices of education. It's when you hear the voices of kind of those spotlights that happened today, a really large number of them are from small county offices of education who are doing some pretty incredible work with limited bandwidth, limited, staffing in a lot of cases. And yet that's where some of I think some of the most impressive innovation is coming out of those spaces. So that was just a noticing for me today that I've been noticing it for a while, but it was just really kind of spotlighted today for me. And it was fun to watch that kind of come out. So that was just something that I wanted to share.
Thanks for sharing, Brent. Still got a couple of minutes here for our share out. So if you've been thinking, there's something I really want to share, this is a great time to raise your hand. Danielle?
Yeah, one thing that kind of struck me is, there were several things, like you said, a lot of great information came from these conversations. But one thing that stood out for me is the idea that having more support around generating buy-in could help with getting the other stakeholders who aren't as regularly exposed to information about the capacity grants. So school boards and parents, and helping them understand the benefits of having a strong, sustainable funding source for mental health supports that many schools have already been doing. You know, in some cases, schools already have already been doing this work, and so this is a way to sustain it. And so, just more help getting that information out there, and that could help secure more buy-in. And then we also spent time on a celebration of the buy-in and kind of some first implementation steps that have already been occurring among LEAs in year one. And so there are even more to celebrate because of how challenging it has been, in that environment where county offices are having to spend a lot of time kind of educating, informing, and cheering the LEAs on to participate. So even though it's small for some, it's small percentage wise, there's a hope for come in the next year, that what will happen in the next year is traction on these early kind of laying the ground kind of efforts.
That's great, Danielle. Really appreciate that perspective. Building off of those wins, also developing resources to build that stakeholder engagement. Thank you for sharing. We'll take about 2 more reflections if there's anybody else who is interested in sharing out. Kelly?
I was in room 7 and I just, being new to this type of work, Lindy, just anytime, I'm always kind of in awe of people that are so knowledgeable, and the fact that she was retired and came back to work on this program, just, I thought that was really awesome. And Jill as well, she's super knowledgeable, had a lot of questions, a lot of great feedback about how to collaborate with everyone, kind of being cohesive with if there could be templates and things that everyone could use instead of everyone trying to scramble and come up with their own reinventing the wheel type of thing. So I really appreciated everyone in our groups.
Thanks, Kelly. Sounds like you had a dream team in there. So that's great. And a lot of the breakout rooms, I know we're shouting out the peer learning that was happening there. We'll take one more reflection if there's anybody who wants to share. Okay. Well, I really love seeing all the celebrities up on screen. Chris Ridge, Thelma, Lindy, you know, we had so many celebrities come up today, and there'll be more to come. So don't be surprised if you get an email from the Capacity Grants team asking you to join the celebrity status, because what I heard in my breakout room was that folks really loved hearing from other county offices of ed on those small slices of work that add up to that big pie. And just being able to make those connections with one another. So gratitude for everyone that participated, and we're sending some free gratitude to all the folks that we're going to be asking in the future to continue to tell your stories, so that way we can build this peer network.